Yeah, Nazis are pretty f***ing gay.
Yeah.
Lady in the Trans podcast. Where we believe in science. We don't believe in God. Only science. Science will solve all the problems. That's the trans agenda.
Trans people in science gonna save the day.
Solve the problems with us. With science. Science, bitch.
Science and my trans agenda, I'm returning trans. Hello and welcome to Lady in the Trans, the podcast where we solve the world's problems one conversation at a time. I'm trans.
And I'm Lady. Thanks for taking the reins there on
Yeah,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
just like getting in the rhythm of things. We're podcasters.
Sometimes my brain doesn't work okay. It's broken.
It's all good. A little behind the curtain there. I mean, that sounded beautiful and perfect and amazing because we just recorded it. But like, there were maybe 6 other files where we couldn't say it.
Don't exaggerate. It wasn't 6. Don't make me look stupid.
I didn't even say it was you. It could have been me. They don't know. But now you outed yourself.
I feel like, yeah. I feel like after a few episodes, especially, they'll come to realize you're the brains of the operation.
Maybe they'll come to a different conclusion. Maybe they'll be like, Chloe's not as smart as she thinks she is. So today we are talking about something that you have some experience with. Why don't you tell us what that is?
The troubled teen industry.
What's a troubled teen?
Oh, I don't even know how to break that down. There is a worldwide problem.
And it's teens. Is it teens?
It is teens.
Teens are the problem.
Teens are totally the problem.
And we should send them to jail. Is that right? Did I get it?
Totally.
Cool.
Yep. Child prison.
Whew,
where
so
we
troubled.
psychologically torture them and totally.
Yeah. Oh, wait, except that's actually the problem. Is the sending of them to prison. But not actually prison.
But not actually prison.
It's not like literally prison. But like, I mean, some kids do go to juvie. But like, this is a whole different thing. This is an industry.
It is an industry.
This is a capitalistic industry designed to make money and profit off of torturing children. Is that right? Do I have that right?
That is correct. Thank you for summing that up for me.
Yeah, okay, you're
My
welcome.
brain malfunctioned there. That's why you're the brains of the
Maybe
operation.
because I was interrupting you so much.
That's entirely possible. Sometimes you got to do that with me, though. Yes, the troubled teen industry, which I was a part of that system in high school. I spent 3 years of my high school career.
So like let's go to the beginning. So like how do you end up being sent away to a multi-year basically torture camp?
So, when I was 15 years old, let's actually go further back. When I got into middle school, I started self-harming. And I stopped caring about school as much, and over time it got worse and worse. By the time I got sent away, I had started failing out of all of my classes.
And is there a cause for that? Like, or it just happens?
Obviously there's a cause for that.
Great. So let's talk about that too, because I think it matters that like kids aren't self-harming and depressed for no reason.
Yeah.
And maybe the solution is to address the root cause of the problem instead of punishment. So like, what was your reason for self-harming / fuck school / whatever?
Man, I feel like I'm in a therapy session. Maybe I need this.
I just think all this stuff, all this context is relevant. And,
I agree.
and useful, so.
A lot of it, and there's certain topics I won't touch on. But I know a main thing for me, basically the place I was living in, a lot of the people that live in my hometown are pretty toxic, the kids that go to the schools and their families. It can be, you know, how small towns can be where everyone's kind of in a bubble. And I know I got bullied a lot in elementary school. I feel like I'm just going into my whole life story now.
I think it matters. People aren't going to take our shit seriously if they don't know anything about us.
That is true. I got bullied a lot in elementary school. And I remember in the 5th grade, I started getting kind of depressed, and I never liked school. I didn't enjoy it. I ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 15. I obviously didn't know about it prior to that, so the school system's not exactly set up for neurodivergent kids. So
no, it's not.
I got to a place in the 5th grade where I was like, I don't care about any of this stuff, and I don't enjoy it, and I don't see the point in it. Fast forward, I I start going through puberty, and puberty hit me really hard. I believe this is a genetic thing that runs in my family, but I started getting really depressed for almost no reason at all around right before my period, which is another topic we're going to have in the future.
Hormones
and menstrual cycles, yes. But I just started getting really depressed. I wasn't happy with where I lived. I didn't really see the point of life anymore. The school system was failing me. I didn't like a lot of the people I was around. By the time I'd moved to middle school, I'd started making some friends and everything like that. But I just felt like I didn't belong where I was, and I didn't feel heard in my home. I've told you about a billion times all of the, toxic dynamics with my family. And I as I aged more and more, and puberty was hitting me harder, I got more and more depressed. And I did a lot of typical stuff teenagers do, too, that I don't think was actually that big of a deal, like drinking sometimes. Yeah, no 13, 14-year-old should be drinking, but it's like,
they
kids
also do it.
They experiment.
Everywhere in the whole country.
Kids experiment.
Kids are drinking.
Smoking weed. It's not good for you when you're that age, and you shouldn't do it, but also that happens. Kids do that.
There's also the part of me that's like, obviously don't drink to excess or go crazy with it or make it a habit or become an alcoholic or whatever. But I wish I had drank alcohol in high school. I wish I had figured out my limits before I was in college and alone. It would have been so much easier if I had too much alcohol and had alcohol poisoning and was at home where my parents would have taken me to a hospital instead of when I got alcohol poisoning at college and my fraternity brothers decided to pin me up against a wall with sleeping bags on me and beanbag chairs and then go party downtown and hope I didn't die.
I mean, to be fair, though, it kind of doesn't matter if you drink at a younger age, because when I got into college age, situations like that still happen. But you know what I think would be a better solution? You know how in Europe, it's common for a kid to have a glass of wine at dinner?
Oh, sure. Teach moderation. Teach moderation.
I think that's a better approach.
That is probably a better solution.
Yeah, I think that's a better approach.
But if we're going to be Americans and continue to be as shitty as we are when it comes to alcohol, let's at least encourage safety and numbers and open communication and not punishment.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to understand that people want to try things.
Exactly. And it's good to teach kids how to do things in a mature way and handle it in a way that isn't going to be harmful to them. Yeah, so those were some of the things. I was also goth, emo, whatever you want to call it in high school.
How dare you?
I know, how dare I?
What? Ship you to prison.
I know, blasphemy. I'm going straight
Whenever
to hell.
I see a child wearing black clothes, I just think jail.
Straight up. So that was for
That's a joke, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know me yet.
Or doesn't get sarcasm, because, you know.
Well, sometimes people have a hard time telling when I'm sarcastic.
Yeah, but also there's people that just don't get it at all.
That's mostly autistic people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I speak from personal experience.
Yeah.
It's annoying being someone who uses sarcasm so fluently and can never understand it.
Yeah. I could see that.
It's not my favorite.
I've noticed you'll explain when you're being sarcastic to me sometimes, because I'll lean into the joke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know you're being sarcastic. I was leaning into the joke. You know what I mean?
I just have so much life experience of people not knowing I'm sarcastic and thinking I'm
you're
just a piece of shit.
Having to,
so I just feel the need to over-explain sometimes.
I definitely feel that.
I feel like I'm reaching a place with you specifically where I don't feel the need to, because I know you probably know my opinions, but sometimes I do make a joke and you start arguing with me and I'm like, no, I don't actually think that.
Well, sometimes I'm arguing for the sake of the joke. I think we're just two people where people don't get us, so we're paranoid about each other getting each other or not.
Okay.
It takes a lot for me to actually be upset about a thing. And I feel like you're getting to a place where you understand that, but it genuinely takes a shit ton for me to actually genuinely be upset. Because most things don't matter to me.
Anyway, so you were goth, so you're a bad kid. Obviously.
Anyways, okay, yeah, we went off on a whole tangent. Sorry, guys.
We're gonna do that all the time. It's the point.
We're gonna edit all of this shit anyways. We're gonna have an audience of nothing but people with ADHD. You realize that?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Good, great. Bring them on. Neurodivergence for the win.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, I wasn't getting along with my parents. My parents there's a 30-year age gap between us, which doesn't sound like a lot in modern times, but back then it was a big deal because most people had children younger. And I think boomers and young
My parents
millennials
started having kids at 32.
Yeah, I know. Our parents are kind of in the same age range. I think that's another reason we vibe. I think that age gap made it very difficult for my parents to understand me. They didn't know how to raise a kid like me, and it was unfortunate because looking back on it, I used to feel like everything was my fault, and really they should have
Paid more attention
and been more empathetic towards me as a child, and asked themselves where they were going wrong as adults.
Yeah.
Because I was just a kid.
I mean, that's basically true of that entire generation of parents. They're just repeating patterns. Like,
Yeah.
they were just following the path that was set out for them because at the time, the path made sense economically, at least.
Yeah.
It was like,
Things were easier for them too, and I think because of that, they really don't understand us between the
Yes.
age difference and the difference in how the world was
Yes.
for them.
they're the generation that had it the easiest and the best
Yeah.
in terms of like economic prosperity. And it's just been diminishing returns since then. So like they truly just see laziness everywhere else.
I also have this theory. I think the reason our generation, so many closeted homosexuals and trans people came out in our generation is because we didn't have anything else to look forward to. I think a lot of people back in the day stayed in the closet more because
So there was a chance.
they could still live a good, comfortable life.
Yeah.
Even if they were hiding from who they were. It was like externally, I can make enough money and buy a house and at least be comfortable.
I mean,
so many people are
yeah.
struggling nowadays that I think they're like, well, the only thing that could make me feel somewhat okay is maybe if I just was myself in this
Honestly,
crashing economy and how the world is.
I think that theory holds a lot of water.
Yeah.
Because that was legitimately one of the reasons I considered not transitioning and not coming out.
Yeah.
And just being like, fuck it, I'll just pretend
life
I'm a
was
man
comfy.
for the rest of my life. Because
Because-
like being a cis white male in this country, in this day and age, shit was legitimately easier for me.
Yeah, and years before you came out of it, because when did you come out of the closet? COVID, when everything hit
Yeah.
the fan.
2020.
Shit
I was
hit
like,
the fan.
well, the world's ending. I might as well try to carve out my last little bit of happiness before I go.
When times get tough, people become themselves.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot more comfortable to stay closeted and fall in line when things were good.
Yeah.
I am bisexual, but romantically on both sides, very heavily, dead even.
Right.
Which I feel like I'm specifying that because a lot of people are bisexual and only
And just
really
sexual.
romantically attracted to one side. And so it's not as big of a deal for them. But being a homosexual is a big part of who I am. And I did not have parents that were accepting of that. This ties into the emo goth culture I was in the early 2000s. A lot of the kids I knew that were in our clique specifically came out as trans or gay, either during high school. Most
I think
of the gay
a lot
kids,
of queer people gravitated towards the goth thing because it's like,
because these were kids that were sulking and feeling their actual feelings, and I think it was therapeutic for us. My parents didn't understand why I was listening to sad, depressing music or angry music. They didn't understand why I was leaning into negative emotions, and I think we were trying to make sense of everything.
yeah. And I also think the goth aesthetic in general is like, it's at least sort of like fashion and like playing with the boundaries of gender performance and conformity.
So the
And like literally being goth is like a place where you can play around with how you look and who you are that is socially acceptable, even though it's not socially acceptable.
It was not, but it was also just the right time for
but
it to
it's
be.
also like a thing. Like it's
It
like
is.
it's like, oh, those are the goths.
Yeah.
Like it's been like a keystone in our culture for at this point like 40, 50 years. I don't even know when goths started existing, but like
Yeah.
they were in 80s movies. It was like, oh yeah, there's the goth kids.
And a lot of the cross-dressing
But
thing.
there was no gay clique.
Yeah, if you think about it, a lot of people in the 80s look like they're cross-dressing, the men and the women,
Yeah.
based on their fashion choices.
also
I
true.
think a lot of that's where it started, and that was all of the, like, our parents' generation when they were younger, and they didn't lean into it, and then we all leaned into it.
Yeah. Ugh, now I want to research the history of goth.
Yeah.
Or if somebody's an
even
expert
emo.
out there, just like send me an email. I would read the shit out of that.
Yeah. Or if you want to come on the show and talk about it, if you're an expert in that, would be really cool.
Yeah, if you are an expert in the history of goth, we will do a guest episode.
Yes, please reach out. I also, so with my sexuality, a lot of kids that did the emo aesthetic, because it was boys wearing girl pants and painting their nails. Everyone, no matter what their gender was, they had the same emo haircut. It's a stupid fucking haircut that I just, looking back, I'm like, why was I attracted to these people?
I wouldn't have that haircut, but I do still like it on other people.
Yeah, now I've grown quite far out of it, I think, but it appealed to me at a time. But a lot of the kids I would have crushes on when I was a kid, a lot of them, you couldn't really tell if they were a boy or a girl. Or you could tell, or you could tell, but there was an element of androgyny to them that I was attracted to, and that was a big way of me exploring my sexuality. Also, shout out to anyone who knows about vampirefreaks.com, but I had an account when I was in middle school, and that's how I discovered what bisexuality was. Because they used to have these little things on that website. It was like MySpace for goth people, right?
Yeah, you can see me about to ask.
Yeah.
What the fuck
I should clarify too.
What is that?
So Vampire Freaks was a social media website in the early 2000s. And it was similar to MySpace. You had your own little account. And then they had these things called cults, quote unquote cults.
Oh, sure. Okay. Like Facebook groups.
So they were like little, like Facebook groups.
Okay.
So it was a group you could join around a special interest. And there was all kinds of different things on there. And I found one.
Was it like exclusively vampires, or it was like goth shit?
It was just goth, rock, anything alternative, really. Like there were emos. Like it was primarily a goth thing, though.
Yeah. I mean, vampire, right in the title, you know.
It very much catered to the goth scene.
Okay.
But I found a cult on there, and I remember it was this really badly photoshopped photo of two girls kissing was their like little cover, and it was like bisexuals only, or bisexuality. And I was like, what is this? Because since I was about 5 years old, I'd always felt like kind of crazy, because I felt like I was very much romantically attracted to both genders. And back then it was you were either gay or straight, and if you were gay, it was really bad. So it was like extra confusing for me. And I remember I clicked on it and joined, and I read through it, and I was like, this is what I am. It kind of like, it was kind of relieving to me to know I wasn't the only one feeling that way.
It's amazing what representation can do.
It makes a big difference for people.
Make people feel comfortable in themselves.
You feel less isolated. Yeah. So
if I'd seen a single positive portrayal of a trans person in the media, it would have changed everything.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, like one of the first ones I ever saw was Jules in Euphoria. And like I watched that show and I came out a year later.
Yeah,
like,
straight up.
Literally.
And sadly, back in the day, in those times, like you guys didn't have good representation. Because anything you saw about trans people in the early 2000s was
until like 2013, 14, 15, we were still getting shitty portrayals.
Yes.
Like even the ones that are supposedly respectful, like fucking Jared Leto playing a trans woman in Dallas Buyers Club. Like I watched that movie like low-key hoping it would be a good portrayal and leaving the theater being like, fuck that guy. And like I wasn't even trans yet, but I was just like, this sucks. I hate this.
Mm-hmm. You know what's kind of sad? The only decent representation I can remember from prior to like maybe 2016, 2017. And it wasn't even that good. So there is this, she's like a legend in the streets of Los Angeles. Her name is Mousy. There's this great YouTube channel called, I believe it's Our Queer Life. If you type up Matt Cullen, you'll find his channel. But he does several interviews with her before she passed away from drug abuse. But she was this real-ass gangster, and she was a trans woman in the streets of Los Angeles. But there was a film that came out about her. I forget what it's called. We'll like reference it, maybe like leave a link for it or something.
I mean, I'm going to Google it while you're talking.
There was a movie made about her experience being in jail. And the actress they hired was a cisgender woman to play her.
Okay.
And I think that was probably the most respectful way of them doing it.
Honestly, yeah. Is this movie called K11?
Yes.
Okay.
That is what it's called. Okay, thank you for looking that up. And rest in peace, Mousy, by the way, if anybody knows about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Our tangents get kind of crazy. I hope you guys can follow along. So
you were goth, so you were a piece of shit, and you were on a vampire website. And it's honestly, here's another, just because.
And I was on a vampire website.
So like, I literally just have to say this before you keep going, because it's the only time it's going to be relevant. Mm-hmm. As a person who moved to Los Angeles and accidentally joined a cult immediately, it's so funny to hear me say that, like, oh yes, then I just like joined this cult.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, that's, I mean, don't join a cult.
Don't join a cult unless it's on vampirefreaks.com.
Yeah, that's the only cults that you should join. It will fuck up your life and your mental health for years, especially if you're in one of the ones where they rape you repeatedly.
Yeah, or one of the ones where you send your kids away to be tortured for years. Anyways.
Also a cult. Yeah. Also a form of cult. Continue.
A series of things happened 2 months before I got sent away. And it was the worst time of my adolescence, especially for my parents, because they did not know how to handle me. Long story short, I'm not going to go into the details so I can keep myself anonymous, but I wake up in my home in the middle of the night, and there are 2 people standing over me with handcuffs saying they're taking me somewhere. I immediately freaked out and tried to run.
Yeah.
I got up immediately, hung over, dipped out. And they chased after me, they tackled me, they cuffed me, they threw me in the back of a car. I have no idea where I am going.
This is the
My parents are behind it because they're just sitting there watching and saying, we're sorry, we'll see you again. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm being kidnapped right now and my parents are behind it. I'm horrified. I'm in the back of the car screaming and crying. These people are driving me across the country. I have no idea where I'm going. We drive all the way to Idaho. They drop me off at this camp in the middle of absolutely nowhere in the desert called Seuss. They give me all of my camp gear and a uniform, and they send me out. I was at this place for 2 months. My story's very long, so I was in 4 different of these programs over the course of about 2 years and 9 months total. At this place in particular, I would say it was probably top 2 of the worst, but it didn't quite compare to the worst place I had gone to. There wasn't as much psychological torture. In some ways, yes, but we would set up camp.
I think the very premise of it is psychological torture.
Yes, yeah. It's like that brutal boot camp shit.
I'm pretty sure that being kidnapped in the middle of the night, if that kickstarts any experience,
that's already psychological
the whole
abuse
thing
from the beginning.
Will continue to be psychological torture because now you don't know what they're capable of at any moment ever.
And now I have a mistrust for my parents on top of that.
And you are existing in a permanent state of what the fuck is going to happen. So they don't have to psychologically torture you anymore because they're always doing it.
You are correct. I'm telling you, it feels like a therapy session.
Cults work.
So this place in particular, their whole structure was you had to get through certain phases to graduate the program and complete so you could leave. Well, my memory from this time is a little fuzzy in like the things that were called.
I wonder why.
Yeah, trauma response. But I do know we had an introductory level where they taught us they gave us a plastic tarp and some strings and they taught us how to set up a tent with that. If there was no rain or snow, we could like tie the plastic tarp around just the sleeping bag and just sleep in it that way. We had different things like that. We were taught how to build our own fires, cook our own food. We ate the same 3 meals every day, no variation, same food every day. It was terrible.
What was the food?
So in the morning we had oatmeal with water. We cooked it with water. It was just plain oatmeal, not very tasty. God. Sometimes they'd give us sugar and stuff to kind of sweeten it.
Jesus.
So oatmeal in the morning. For lunch, every day we got a piece of pita bread with peanut butter on it and at least, I believe it was 3 or 4 apricots for fiber so we could shit. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
And for dinner, we had I hate lentil beans and rice. I will not eat it because we ate that every day for dinner and it was disgusting. And we cooked this all in a tin can. So your first meal is peaches. And after you eat the peaches, it becomes the can you use for your food. So you cook all of your food in this little tin can.
And do you get peaches again or just the one time?
It's just the one time. It's your first meal. So that way you have a can that you can cook everything in.
So you're also like literally malnourished.
Yeah, literally. And you're hiking sometimes 8 miles a day. It just depends on which camp you're going to next. You're in the middle of absolute nowhere. There's extreme weather situations. There's kids that would get hypothermia because of the snow. So I had a friend out there. They called it a burrito when we would just wrap the plastic tarp around our sleeping bag. And I had a friend, somehow in her sleep, the plastic came off of her sleeping bag and it snowed that night. It wasn't heavy snow, but it was enough snow that it made part of her sleeping bag wet. And it was freezing cold, and she almost had to go to the hospital because of the body temperature.
And the hypothermia. And the frostbite and the million fucking things that can go wrong. Like,
also, we did not shower.
Okay, question. Are there adults present?
Yes, you on average have about 2 staff members.
And how many kids?
It really just depended. We would have a couple of kids come and go periodically. There was probably, I think, 1 or 2 incidents where kids graduated and we got new kids.
Somebody, quote, graduated from torture camp?
Yes. So
wow, I'm so glad I graduated.
I think at max we had about 7 girls in our group. It was co-ed at the introductory camp, and then it became separated by gender.
Or by perceived gender.
They don't do that there.
I know.
All of these programs are anti-gay.
Exactly.
Some of them do a lot of conversion therapy bullshit, which we'll get into later. Also, every time we'd set up camp, we would dig a hole in the ground, and that's where you shit.
Uh-huh.
And keep in mind, too, there were hygiene issues with this place. We did not shower for 3 weeks at a time. And when you did get a shower, it was a short shower. You could not shave, tweeze anything. They gave you a bar of soap. If you were lucky, some shampoo and conditioner. You got a 10-minute shower every 3 weeks. So you're just walking around covered in your own filth. Your parents are paying a lot of money for this. And
so when you shit in the hole in the ground, is there toilet paper?
Okay, so for peeing,
are you using a leaf?
So for peeing, which was really terrible because we have the female anatomy. If you took a piss, they did not give you toilet paper. If you wanted to wipe, you used these things called mullein leaves for that. When you shit, they did give you a set amount of toilet paper. They would ration it out for you.
4 squares.
Yeah, some shit like that. Yeah. But yeah, you could use toilet paper for number 2. That was all. And keep in mind, when you get your period, all they give you are pads. So it's incredibly unsanitary. The whole thing was just so fucked up. Anyways, a lot of it, you'd have kind of little therapy sessions in the middle of your day. They taught us, so you could move up. I remember they taught us how to bow drill, which you start off with spark rocking, which is you have this piece of metal and a quartz rock, and you spark it into a tinder bundle, which is soft pieces of leaves and twigs and stuff.
Sure.
So you could build your fire. That's your entry level fire building. Then they teach you how to bow drill, which I'm going to do my best to explain this.
What is bow drill?
So it's you have a flat piece of wood you find of a certain type of wood. I don't remember.
This is another fire starting method.
Yes,
I didn't know it was called this.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a way you could move up. You had to learn how to bow drill, and once you sparked your first coal, you moved up a little bit further.
We did that in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, so thank God you went to Boy Scouts because you know some of this shit.
It was miserable, but I did.
Yeah. Basically, you have this thing that looks like a bow, for archery, like a bow and arrow. You would take a stick and a string, tie it to each side. You would take another stick and wrap it in the string, put a rock on top of the stick, put it into the board you made, and then you would use the bow to create friction with the stick going into the board. And you'd have a tinder bundle ready next to it. So when it popped a coal, you would get it on the tinder bundle, blow into it so it would create a fire. And it is very hard. It took me forever to learn how to do. It's physically exhausting. And it's a good skill to have. But
and if you didn't do it, would you still be there?
Yeah.
They would just never let you leave?
Yeah. Everybody eventually learned how to do it. But it was one of those things where it's you have to learn how to do this.
Right.
We had very heavy packs that we wrapped. They weren't regular backpacks. You would take your plastic tarp from your tent, and there was a way that they taught us to wrap all of our belongings with a rope into the plastic tarp. And we had these, what are the things called? It's like a seatbelt material. I can't think of the word.
Seatbelt material, a strap?
Like a strap, yeah. I don't know what kind of strap they are, but we had these straps that attached to the plastic.
I don't know names of straps.
I don't know. I guess I don't either.
It's a strap.
I don't know. You're smarter than me. You're supposed to know everything. You're supposed to help me out.
I don't know everything.
I know.
I
just like giving you shit because sometimes it feels like you do.
I know completely random shit. And that's not one of the random things that I happen to be aware of.
Yeah. But overall, I would say the message at that place was you did something wrong. Your parents are relieved you're no longer here. You need tough love. And this is what you get for being a bad kid.
And to reiterate that what you did wrong was being sad and emo.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was an emotional wreck, so I would lash out. I was barely going to school, but yeah, looking back on it, all of the things that I was going through, my parents should have put me in therapy, tried to communicate with me. Maybe don't scream at me and treat me like I'm a bad person. Yeah.
Lashing out is a symptom of being sad and neglected. It's not like a core behavior.
Yeah, and misunderstood and feeling, kind of alone.
Yeah. And probably being closeted and feeling unsafe around your parents because they wouldn't accept you if you told them the truth about yourself.
Yes.
So like you were sent to jail for being gay.
Basically.
Basically.
Gay and just not your ideal kid.
Gay.
And also gay. That was an element to it. But there were other things that we won't get into.
But weren't they all like symptoms caused by being gay and not open about it?
Partially. It was one issue on a list of many other issues I had. Some of the issues I'm not going to dive into.
Okay.
But there were a list of other issues on top of that.
But were any of those issues completely unrelated from the emotions that you were going through at the time?
Wait, what are you asking?
Were these behaviors or these issues that were happening, were they caused by your sadness that you were going through from being gay and closeted and emo?
No, some of the other issues are completely separate from it and also added to the way I was feeling. There were other things that I just don't care to talk about publicly.
But they were related to you being traumatized.
Yes, they were related to me being traumatized, yes.
So again,
but they are not related to me being gay.
Yeah. So again, all of the issues that you were sent away for were caused by things that were either done to you or about who you are.
Yes. Yeah.
And none of them were your fault.
I guess I agree. I still have a hard time with that because I've been made to feel like I was a piece of shit.
I'm aware.
I get where you're trying to go with it, but I have a hard time with it because I think about like, what if my parents hear this and find out it's me and then they think I'm just playing the victim and think I'm being a piece of shit again? Like I have a whole thing that we don't need to get into with that, but
like you actively aren't.
I appreciate that. I have a hard time with that.
Legitimately, regardless of how they feel about it, they are wrong. And they probably would feel that way because obviously they looked at a kid who was sad and traumatized and thought, ugh, this kid is too much work.
Yeah.
We should probably send her to jail.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a person's opinion that holds any water in my book. Like, literally zero water.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I have a hard time with it because it was nailed into my head that I did something wrong and there was something wrong with me.
Because for 3 years, you were tortured into believing that.
Yeah. And it's taken me a long time to even get to the place where I understand that I was abused. This is a more recent understanding that I have. So it's a lot.
I'm just here to help continue
and I appreciate it.
Poking in the right direction.
Yeah.
That you did literally nothing wrong. And even the things that you might have done were in response to something that was a huge problem that was not being dealt with or managed in any appropriate or responsible way by the adults in the room.
We'll get there with me one day, but today is not going to be the day.
Yeah. I mostly said that for the audience because I know you're not going to hear it.
Yeah. And it's,
But I think it's very important because I don't think you are the only person who was sent there for those reasons.
Yeah. And I do want to specify my story is unique. Everyone has a different story from here. There are some kids where their parents may have lost custody of them. There are people who were in the system, like adopted children. There's foster kids. There were kids that were literally running around in the streets as prostitutes that were sent to this place by their parents in a panic, and their parents didn't mean for them to be tortured. They just panicked and didn't know what to do. There are scenarios like that. So this is a unique to me scenario. But anyways.
Yeah. Again, it sounds like in most of those situations, it was people who simply did not understand that there are better ways to deal with these problems.
This is one thing I will say about these programs too. They do a lot of manipulation to the parents. There is a lot of brainwashing.
Of course they do.
They convince the parents that your child is a piece of shit. It's easier for some parents to accept if that's what they already think of their child, but there are some people where they're like, oh, your child is like a psychopath and a manipulative person. That was a really common theme. These programs brainwash the parents into being like, you have a really dangerous, terrible child, and you need to trust us on what we do.
That's what happened with my sister.
Yeah.
A fun fact for the audience, my younger sister was also sent to the exact same program. Not this wilderness one, but one of the many programs.
She went to the same one as me. She was there before I got sent there. She'd left right as I left. Anyways, so this is the first program I was in. And this part is also very important. There was a girl that I was sent to this wilderness camp with, and I had a huge crush on her. I won't say her name because she'll definitely identify me if I say it.
Yeah, let's not identify people.
But I remember she left before me the day she found out where she was being transferred to. Because some of these kids graduate and go straight home. Some of them, their parents just send them to another place, send them to another place, send them to another place, which is what my parents did, and hers did as well. I remember we had a meeting, and they told her she was being sent to Cross Creek in Utah. Yep. It's a lockdown facility that I also went to.
That's the one.
And I remember she immediately started sobbing because she had also been to Ivy Ridge, which if you guys have Netflix, watch the program on Netflix. It's called The Program. It's a wonderful documentary. They talk about Cross Creek and Ivy Ridge, primarily Ivy Ridge. It exposes the entire industry. It's a groundbreaking thing that came out. I'm so glad those kids made that documentary. It's profound and important. Please go watch it.
I was literally horrified watching that documentary with you.
And they did such a good job of painting out what it was like. Because for so long, I would talk about it to people before people were aware of this being a thing. And I sounded crazy. And because I was also traumatized, I had a hard time really expressing what happened without my emotions getting in the way. And I just sounded batshit crazy. Yeah. And they did a very good job of showing you exactly what it was like in a way that makes sense.
If any person just like calmly laid out all of the things that happened, that they did there to me, and I didn't know anything about it, I would be like, this person is schizophrenic. Like, this person must be hallucinating, because there's no way anyone could go through all of that and it just be allowed.
And it's also just like, what is this person talking about? Like, because it's nobody knew about it. Anyways, I digress.
And then we had to whack the walls with pool noodles. And then we had to scream for 3 days, and we weren't allowed to stop. And then
if
we
you
weren't
didn't
allowed
scream
to
good enough, you didn't get through that seminar. And anyways, we'll get into all of that. But so me hearing the program she was being sent to is an important element that we'll touch on later.
Okay.
But I remember her sobbing. And I have a huge crush on this girl. That's important. So I graduate from this program. I think I'm going home. My parents brought me a set of clothes that I would have worn when I was home. I took 3 hours in the shower before we left this place because I was hairy and I was covered in dirt. Oh, this phenomenon happens where dirt literally gets lodged under the skin on the tops of your hands. I had brown hands from the dirt for months. It was like, we called it permadirt, where it gets stuck under your skin because you're so filthy that it takes months for it to come out of your skin.
Because you have to regrow like an entire new layer of skin.
Because you're so covered in dirt, it's literally under layers of your skin. So I took 3 hours in the shower. I did my makeup. My parents did all of this to manipulate me and trick me into thinking I was going home.
Yeah.
We're on our way somewhere. I'm getting sent to a boarding school, a therapeutic boarding school in Montana. Now, this place, it wasn't as bad for me personally, the experience I had. This is Monarch School, by the way, in Heron, Montana. I want to specify this place. Yeah. There were some fucked up things about it. I did some research. That place is now shut down. The head owner, Patrick McKenna, is a pedophile that has a taste for underage boys. This was a co-ed therapeutic boarding school. There were definitely girls that had bad experiences for different reasons. There was a little bit of psychological torture and abuse. Not on the same level, for me at least, as the lockdown facility I went to later, but that's just a side note to keep in mind. So I get to this place. I had dreadlocks from being out in the wilderness camp because your hair gets matted. So I just made it into dreads because I thought it looked cool. And they're telling me they're going to shave my head if I don't brush out my hair. And thank God I didn't do the permanent locks where you lock it in.
Yeah.
It was just mats. So I brushed that shit out. And they gave me these, we didn't have uniforms. They were like these, we had these very like typical preppy clothes, very plain cardigan sweaters, polo shirts, khaki pants. We all dressed similar style, very plain. Girls couldn't have their hair down in front of the boys. They had really weird rules like that. I hated this place enough that I ran away 3 separate times. This is in the middle of nowhere in Montana, by the way. It's one of the tiniest towns I've ever been in, and it is very isolated. There are no gates because they don't really need them.
You're describing Montana.
It took me about, I think, 10 hours to get into the next town. There was one, I was proud of myself. I ran away and I did get into the next town. By the time I was
the next town? Do you know now?
I think it was like 8 or 9 miles away.
Jesus.
I could be wrong on that, but it was several miles away. It was a very far walk. And you're walking in the forest. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's dark. There's no people out there. There's just one single road you're following.
That is horrifying.
The first 2 times I ended up just somewhere in the woods and they eventually found me and brought me back.
Approximately 80% of the things you have said are the premise of horror movies.
Yeah, straight up. So the third time I got into town, I think someone called them because they give rewards to the locals if they see one of the kids ran away, and the locals will call someone and get you back.
This is the plot of a horror movie.
If looking back on it, it was the worst time of my life. Anyways, so your punishment when you ran away, you got a stump. So what that means is there's a big, large tree stump. Even in like a blizzard, doesn't matter. It's Montana, it's cold. They have you digging out a tree stump for your punishment. So they had free child labor. Like a lot of these places, it was just weird free child labor and like just shit like that. So
I'm never going to be able to watch Holes again.
Yeah, I know, right? Honestly, that film was ahead of its time. Because these places are real.
Because I like straight up read that book thinking like, what a wild fantasy where they would like,
oh no, it's real life.
Put children to work digging holes all day for no reason. Like,
yeah.
But this was just your life.
Yeah. So,
but it was a tree stump,
and it was because they just give you a shitty shovel, and it takes forever. Because like it doesn't even sound like that much work. That is hard physical labor.
I was literally gonna say that's like one of the hardest things
these were big,
imaginable.
These were big tree stumps. This wasn't like some small tree. These were big ass tree stumps that you were digging out.
Because the roots,
and you gotta pull it out yourself. Yeah. You do all of it yourself.
If it's a big stump, the roots are going everywhere.
Yeah,
and they go.
And you gotta break it. You gotta rip them apart with the shovel. You're digging around the dirt. You're using the shovel to maneuver it and kind of like get some leverage and push it out. It's very hard work.
Purely from a science perspective, it's like the least efficient way to get a stump out.
Yeah. They had these so they did group therapy, very different from any other program I'd been to. And honestly, looking back, it was kind of cringe, actually. I didn't find this as traumatizing. It was just kind of strange.
Oh, was it kind of cringe? Oh, so this child labor camp? Okay.
We had these group therapy sessions where it was co-ed. All of the different people would be in different group therapies with one therapist in quotations, because I don't even believe a lot of these people were licensed.
I guarantee they weren't.
You were expected to...
Like youth pastors or some shit.
You were expected to be hysterical in these group therapy sessions, specifically at this program. So you would start talking about something was upsetting you, and you would have to start screaming or sobbing. And if you didn't do enough, they would treat you like you were being fake and you weren't doing enough. And looking back on it now, I think this was a way to mentally break you down because you're tapping into negative emotions for no reason and exhausted after. And you get anxiety because you're like, fuck, if I don't put on a performance, they're not going to like it. So it would be these weird group therapy sessions where people would just start screaming and crying and screaming. And then the next person would talk and they'd start screaming. And then 2 people would start screaming. Weird shit, right? They also had this thing where if you had a crush on somebody of the opposite gender, you had to go to group therapy and tell them about it and then find out if it was a mutual feeling. I don't know why they made us do that. Super weird. If you were gay.
What the fuck?
And here's the weird homophobic shit they did.
I can't wait.
If you were gay and you had a same-sex attraction, you had to do it privately with a staff member present. They wouldn't even let you do it in group therapy. And the whole premise was very like anti-gay.
That definitely sounds like something that a pedophile would come up with.
Yep.
Especially a guy who has a preference for boys.
Yes, yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we have a rule where if you have a crush on a boy, you have to sit alone with me in a room and talk about it.
Yeah. Or
Like,
well, it wasn't
gonna
always so
fucking
Patrick McKenna.
puke.
So Patrick McKenna a lot of the time was not involved in that directly.
I wonder if he was hiring other pedophiles.
Probably.
I feel like
yeah.
they travel in circles.
Probably. It's entirely likely. I don't think all of the people working there were bad people either. I do genuinely believe at this
I'm
program.
sure in a town that small, you've got to just get what you can get. But I'm sure they also did ship in some people who were stoked to spend all day with like troubled kids and abuse them and manipulate them.
I remember
vomit.
Yeah, I actually, there is this woman, I won't say her name, but we had these things called peer groups where you were put into a group based on the time you got there with other kids. And you gave it like a name and stuff, and you would like you would do a lot of your like seminars. I forget what they were called. They were called something different, but they had seminars where it was like this big therapeutic, like multi-day thing where they like just set up a bunch of stuff for you to like talk about certain things. My memory is a little bit fuzzy on those for some reason. I know they were kind of similar to group therapy, but more extensive.
Trauma?
Probably. But my peer group leader, she was this woman who I remember talking to her about being bisexual, and she was actually very accepting of it and was like, oh, like, explain what that is for me. So I like kind of told her, I was like, I'll have like romantic feelings for a boy or a girl, and like, it's something I kind of know about myself. And she was like, huh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, and didn't really like push back at me on it. And when I got out of there, I found her on Facebook. She had shaved her head and had a girlfriend. And she reached out to me and was like, I wanted to say thank you to you because you kind of made me realize something about my own sexuality when you were a kid talking to me at that place. So I don't think all the people in these places were bad people.
Sure.
I think they were either maybe mentally broken down a little bit too to think everything was normal. There might have been things going on that they didn't see, because I know at this program I didn't see any sexual abuse happen at all, and I haven't heard about it. But like, I know a random kid that I wasn't in that program with spoke out about Patrick McKenna being a pedophile. So I know shit was going on.
But it was happening in the private sessions.
Yeah.
The one-on-ones with the gay kids.
Yeah. Anyways, I ran away 3 times, had all the stump shit. By the 3rd time, they pulled me to the side and they told me, you're being kicked out of this place and you're being transferred to another wilderness camp. Because at this place, it was for kids that were more naturally compliant. And this is what broke me down, because by the time I got to the lockdown facility, they were so much more strict and more blatant about the abuse, and you were more afraid of the staff there, and that's what broke me. I did not, I look back and I regret not rebelling more in that place, because I could have had so much more fun if I was just like, fuck it. The kids that like didn't give a fuck.
But wouldn't you have been like punished more?
Oh yeah, but like at least I wasn't losing my fucking mind and my actual, when I say losing my mind, I mean losing my actual thoughts. I didn't think my own thoughts when I got out of these places anymore.
How could you?
They had completely stripped away my identity. I was a blank slate. So I go to this wilderness camp again. It's a different one in Idaho called Ascent. I don't believe it's still open. I'm not sure. And this was the easiest one that I went to. So Ascent, I was there, I think, about 2 weeks as like a holding spot for me. It was kind of nice. We got to shower every other day. We didn't have to build tents and hike and shit. Like we had heated teepees. That they had these big teepees, and the girls slept in one and the boys slept in the other.
All right. Progress is progress.
This is the place where I lost my virginity to a girl, actually, when I was 16.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, it was an awkward situation. There was a girl I fooled around with in the teepee one night because I kind of felt like, I was like, fuck, I'm never going to lose my virginity. Because when you're a kid, you think you're going to be in there forever, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, what if I never get out of here? And there was a girl I really liked, and we fooled around. It was really awkward, but, you know.
Hey.
It is what it is.
First times are always awkward.
But yeah, it was a little more laid back. The one thing I will say...
that sucks though. Like, that sucks for you. I can't imagine if my first time was like in prison.
I mean, this was a wilderness camp, a little bit different.
It's still basically the same thing.
At least in nature. This was also the best experience I had with these places. It was still fucked up.
It sounds less shitty. But I also think like the least shitty, which makes it the quote best, still doesn't make it good. But because you experience so many worse things, you're like,
it seems
that one
not that big
bad.
of a deal on a larger scale. Yeah.
But it's like, if it was the only one you went to, it would still be trauma.
The one thing I will say, there was a male staff at this wilderness camp. And I remember one day we were all sitting in a circle, cross-legged, and he was wearing these shorts that were kind of loose. I remember looking, and he had a soft ass dick, just like you could see it through his shorts. And he was just sitting very much just like, it was like he wanted us to see it.
That's definitely what was happening.
Fully going commando, soft dick, just you could see it. Looking, I didn't think of it like that as a kid, but looking back as an adult, I'm like, that sick fuck wanted us to see that sick piece of fucking shit.
Yeah, he was getting off on it.
And
Not
I remember the girls, we
like
all
maybe...
talked about it in the teepee, and one of them was like, oh, it was so gross. And I was like, yeah, I know. And like, actually, that's the first time I ever saw a dick in real life.
That's
I had watched porn before.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, I'd watched porn before, but like it's just a different experience, you know, when you're a kid especially.
That is literally abuse. That is sexual misconduct at the very least.
And sadly, that felt like not that big of a deal when you take into consideration everything else.
That's what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like literally, oh yeah, the sexual misconduct I was experiencing was the least traumatic part. Like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was probably the worst thing that happened at that place. I was there for 2 weeks. There was this person who was a part of the system, and their job title was an ed consultant. Your parents had a meeting with them, and they helped your parents find the appropriate program. And I got to have a meeting with this lady before I left this wilderness camp.
So these programs are like...
They're all interconnected.
They're all incestuous with each other, and it's just a big fucking racket.
It's like a big yarn chart. If you go and watch the program, they touch on that. They describe the whole thing very well. So go watch that.
And like, how genuinely fucked do you have to be like, I'm going to make my bag torturing children.
Yeah.
And convincing their parents that it's what's good for them.
You have to have a really bad personality disorder. That's what you gotta have.
You have to be like one of the shittiest people.
Yeah, you have to be a huge sack of shit. So.
Because it's literally like turning abuse into capitalism.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. We're going to touch on the Mormon Church being involved in this, by the way.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Fuck the Mormons. Not the common day people, but like you people at the top of that church, fucking kill yourselves.
Anytime I disparage any religion, I am disparaging the people in charge of it and not the followers.
Yeah.
Just like for all future reference.
Yeah, because a lot of the people that are followers of things like that sometimes are the victims too, so.
They are. Of course they are. They're in a cult.
Yeah.
They are cult members.
It is a cult. Anyways, so I digress. She gave me a list of programs they were looking at that they were thinking about sending me to, and I heard Cross Creek. You know, going back to my first wilderness camp, the girl I have a crush on, I know that's where she got sent to.
Yeah.
Following my stupid, dumb teenage heart and wanting to at least know somebody there, I was like, oh, Cross Creek, I kind of want to go there. And she was kind of like, wait, what, you have an opinion? I was like, yeah, I have a friend from my wilderness camp that I know was sent there, and I've heard it's a really good place. I kind of just bullshitted because I wanted to get sent there. I was a little scared because she seemed to have a bad reaction to the place, and she knew it was related to Ivy Ridge, which is the other facility she was sent to. But I wanted to know somebody in there and feel less alone.
Yeah.
And so in my head, and I also had a huge crush on that girl.
Yeah, I think that was probably even more of it.
So I was like, I'm going to go. So I convinced her to choose that place out of the list. And I later regretted it. So, I mean, who knows? I could have gotten sent to a place just as bad or even worse. I was probably going to get sent somewhere shitty.
No matter where it was, it would have been abusive and traumatic.
Yes. So I get sent to Cross Creek in Laverkin, Utah. We're going to touch on why so many of these places are located in Utah, where the Mormon Church has a big influence on government.
Stranglehold,
and
you might say.
Yeah, they're basically running that state.
They are. Yeah, absolutely. It's the
and
new,
they are looking the other way
land.
because the Mormon Church is notorious for pedophilia and abuse of children.
Yeah. And for my 7th wife, I will marry a 13-year-old.
Anyways, I got sent to Cross Creek maybe 8 or 9 months after I had first been sent away. 3 programs later, I arrived. They take me to a room, and we have an intake process. So the intake process is they go through all of your stuff, make sure you don't have like a cell phone or I'd come from another.
It's like literally like prison.
Yeah, literally. So I used to have a friend who was in prison for 10 years, and we have compared our stories, and there's a lot of similarities. The difference is prisoners are more afraid of each other. We were more afraid of the staff and people running the place. And there was more psychological torture and brainwashing than just physical abuse
Sure.
for me. But yeah, there are a lot of similarities in this particular program that I went to. So there's an intake process. I was from another program, so I didn't really have anything that I couldn't have. There were a few things they took, like my clothes and stuff. They give you a uniform. We all dress the same. They have a level system there, right? First level is the lowest level. You wear a highlighter yellow shirt. So it's either you're a brand new kid or you're like high risk suicide watch, that kind of a thing. You can move up into an orange shirt, which is like the next level where you're still being closely watched, but you're not like the lowest level. And then they have an in between that isn't as common. It's a teal shirt. That's when you're about to get into your powder blue button up shirt. And from there, you have 6 levels to complete in the powder blue shirt. And you get certain privileges with each level.
Okay.
Like basic things like shaving your legs is a level 2 privilege. With an electric razor, you can never do more than just your legs or your armpits. Tweezing your eyebrows is a level 4 privilege.
So the person who invented this, was he into karate or Star Trek?
Wait, why do you... I don't get the reference on that. I don't get it. You gotta explain.
So like in karate, like you start with a white belt.
Oh,
or at least
yeah.
taekwondo. I don't know. I did taekwondo. Like you start with a white belt and then you get a high white belt, which has a little yellow stripe that says you're about to get the yellow belt. And then you get the yellow belt and then you go to high yellow and you get a little blue stripe that says you're going to go to blue. And then high blue has a green stripe and then there's green belt, blah, blah, blah. Until
I
you're
get it.
black belt. And once you're black belt, there's like 10 levels of black belt you can be, blah, blah, blah. Or in Star Trek, the only way you can identify like who's the captain, who's the second mate, who's the person who's going to die this episode is based on the color of their shirts. Like there's a running joke of like, oh, there's another red shirt because the red shirts always die. There's just like some random person who shows up to go on the mission and then they die because like they're like the low level ranking people on the ship.
Okay, yeah, like the pawns of the thing.
Yeah, but like literally it's like, oh, well, if you're the captain, this is the color shirt you wear. I don't know the colors because like I'm a colorblind bitch.
Yeah,
but,
true. I was going to say, how do you know all of this about colors?
But like it's like a thing. It's like there's memes about it. Like people, it's like in the cultural consciousness.
Yeah. It's we'll get into the levels later because there is a very specific reason I think the levels are put in place, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
So they make you do the squat and cough just like they do in prison to make sure you don't have anything in your orifices.
Jesus.
So you strip down naked in front of a random adult.
And you're like a teenager.
Mm-hmm. And you squat and you make yourself cough. And
This
they
is
just make sure.
already so unacceptable.
Yeah.
This is already criminal.
And the parents were paying thousands of dollars a month.
Oh, yeah. I remember my parents
this.
complaining about it because that's the place they sent my sister to.
And you know what's sad? We weren't given they got all of our bathroom products from the dollar store. They were feeding us shit food. Sometimes they were underfeeding us. We'll get to that later.
I mean,
sometimes they were hardly feeding us at all.
You.
Sometimes they were literally starving us.
Literally malnutritioning you at the fucking other wilderness one.
There were girls there that did not get their period for several years from the stress. And it was a very common thing.
And from being malnourished. That causes it too.
I'm going to have a hard time keeping this to a good timeline because there's so much stuff and it's very emotional. Yeah. So I'll try my best to keep this as organized as I can.
How about we do anything that is heavily featured in the program, the documentary, we don't have to do a deep dive on.
The thing with the program, there are similarities and crossovers, but they touch on a different facility.
Cross Creek.
Yeah, it's okay. So let me tell you something though. Ivy Ridge was it's under WASP, WASP, which is the same organization. It was a sister school. So they were very similar, but things were slightly different.
With each other.
But yeah. And they're run and those two in particular were very similar because they were closely related to the same parent company. Anyways, so we have our intake process. You take a shower, they watch you shower, and you go.
I'm just going to step away really quickly and kill myself.
Please don't do that. I love you. Okay. If you're out, I'm fucking out, because what am I going to do about the
rent? That's the reason. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason you'd be sad.
Only reason I'd be sad. No other reason in particular. It's not like I care about you or anything.
Yeah. Who even am I?
Yeah. So you get put in a group. They were by letters. There was A, B, C, D. I was in C group. My therapist was Ron June. We'll touch on that man later down the road. Each group had a topic, like a category of why they were sent away that actually didn't make any sense. Like, there were kids in the sex addict group that had never had sex before, and they just gaslit those kids into like, no, you're a sex addict, or like you're a pedophile, or you're a sexual abuser, like shit like that. My group was the liars and manipulators C group. So my parents loved that shit because they loved to hear that I was a bad manipulative liar.
Of course.
Yes.
I feel like that's also the one my sister was in.
Yeah, we had the same therapist because she knew my friend, and my friend was in the same group with me. They had the same therapist. Yeah,
because we were getting so much info about how much of a liar and manipulator she was.
Your sister was in C group with me, and we had, in my opinion, the second worst therapist in the whole facility as far as the abuse and psychological abuse goes. Parker from K group was significantly worse. So I'm in C group. First thing I did where I fucked up in my intake, I shouldn't have done this. I didn't know they were going to do this.
How could you? They're not telling you the rules.
That girl that I had a crush on, that I had followed to this facility on purpose, I mentioned, I was like, hey, is there a girl by this name here?
Oh, no.
And they were like, oh, how do you know each other? I was like, I met her at a different program. They put us on category 4 silence, meaning we were not allowed to look at each other, talk to each other, acknowledge each other. If she said something in a conversation, I was not allowed to engage in that conversation, or I would be given a category 4, which a cat 4 docks you a certain amount of points and puts you back in a colored shirt. And then you go in the tape room 12 hours a day, filling out tests on a tape, which we'll get into that later. But you were severely punished for doing a cat 4 or cat 5.
Which was acknowledging a person you knew.
Yes. Yes, they did not want us talking at all, looking at each other. If I looked at her and somebody saw it, we could be written up. So that was a thing. So our group had specific rules where I was not allowed to talk to anybody in the facility except for the 3 kids in my group that were a level 4 and higher. Other groups, you could talk to any level 4 and higher in the whole facility. Our group was more restricted because of our therapist. We were only allowed to talk to high-level kids within our group. So there were 3 kids I was allowed to acknowledge that could acknowledge me back. There was also this other weird rule where kids in other groups, like say there was a kid in like B group and she was a level 4 or 5, she could talk to me, but I was not allowed to look at her or acknowledge her, or I would be punished for it. It was a weird rule. So I'm pretty isolated. There's only a couple of kids I'm able to speak to, and my therapist and staff. So you have to work your way up by getting points, and you are docked points for breaking small rules. For example,
like looking at a person.
Like looking at a person. We weren't allowed to look at, so they had a separate facility in the same building for boys. It was separated by gender entirely.
Sure.
Every once in a while, we'd be crossing paths to go to the cafeteria. If there was a line of boys and a line of girls, one of the lines had to turn and face the wall. We were not allowed to look at each other. If you got caught looking at the opposite gender for more than 3 seconds, the staff would sit there and they could count to 3. 1, 2, 3. If it went over that, they could write you up.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is totally normal.
So they had sexist rules, like very misogynistic rules where like boys had certain rules that we didn't have, and we had a lot of rules that the boys didn't have.
Yeah,
and one of them was the boys got fed more food. I'm a larger bitch. I'm pretty built. I'm pretty tall. And we had a basketball court, and as long as you weren't in like deep shit, as long as you were like, you know, on a certain level and had certain privileges, you could play basketball in the basketball court. And I played a lot of basketball. I had a very fast metabolism as a kid, so I needed more food. And I remember there was this one kid on the boys' side that every once in a while in my peripheral, I'd see him. And this kid was like 5 foot nothing and like 120 pounds. He was a little dude. And I would just get so angry because I'm like, that little fucking kid, because he's a boy, is getting fed better than me and I need it. And there was one week where our meals were literally like, we would get a single shitty corn dog and that would be all they fed us for that meal.
Oh my God.
And it would get worse and worse. And at one point I was having hunger pains because I was not eating enough food.
Yeah. And your body was probably literally eating itself.
Yeah. And I remember, thankfully, because my parents had money and they were closely involved and they didn't want to piss my parents off and I accidentally say something that woke them up, I went into a status review meeting with Ron and I cried and was like, I'm so hungry. Please feed us more food.
Did he?
Yeah, because he didn't want me complaining to my parents on a phone call or through a letter. And I was a high enough level. I think I was a level 1 or 2 at the time.
Because that fucker's like living on his millions, like traveling. He's a fat
And they were feeding us,
fuck.
even when they were feeding us okay, they were feeding us shit. It was like the lowest grade food.
Yeah, they were spending as
It was
little
like
as possible.
no nutrition. It was just like bagged processed shit.
Yeah.
Small portions. If you were a level 3 and up, you could work in the kitchen, like volunteer, and they would give you double portions. So I did that all the time.
like that.
When I was a level 3 and up, because I was like, I need more food. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking vacuum. I eat like a fat piece of shit. And when I was younger, it was worse because I would play basketball, and then like I had a fast metabolism naturally. I was an athlete as a kid. So like I needed more food. And they had a misogynistic rule that these fucking shitty boys were getting fed more because they're boys. If you cracked your knuckles, that was a rule, Cat 3, which you wouldn't necessarily drop levels unless you were low on points for your level. It just depended on the math of the thing, but you would lose points for that. 50 points to be exact. Like they had dumb rules. And then there were some, like you weren't allowed to fart around people. It's kind of goofy. We had to do this thing called a 20-20 where if you had to fart, you were supposed to leave wherever you were, go 20 feet away into a corner and fart over there and wait 20 seconds and come back. And it was the worst when someone would fart in line. If the staff asked, like, hey, who did that? And no one owned up to it, we all got category 2s and lost 25 points. Stupid shit, right?
How do you get points? Like, this feels like massive point deductions.
It's a little bit fuzzy, to be honest. It took me a very long time to even get up on my levels. I was at, like, level 1 and 2 for, like, probably a good year of my time there. Things like, you could get points for, like, volunteering in the kitchen, which you had to be a level 3 and up to do. Or like, you know, things like that.
This is like such a metaphor for America. I can't handle it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Like, you can do good things if you're at a certain level economically, but if you're below that, it's not even available to you. It's not even an option to try to level up.
Yeah.
So you have to just like slave away and like fucking what the actual fuck.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And if you watch the program, they touch on the level system. They touch on a lot of things. There were these things called seminars that we had to go through. And you could not get past certain levels without completing these seminars. These seminars were big events where if you were following the rules, complying at a certain level, they would send you to, there was discovery, focus, principles. I forget all of them, but the big ones were discovery and focus, and your first one's discovery. If you watch the documentary, they touch on these because their program had the same thing. But we essentially had to go through all of these different processes, weird therapeutic processes that were mostly like a brainwashing thing.
Yeah.
There were humiliation tactics like in discovery. They identify maybe a problem that you have and they make you do a performance in front of everybody. Like mine, I got Lady in Red. So what Lady in Red was, there's this song called Lady in Red and I hate it. When it comes on, when I'm in the store, I want to throw a fit.
Good to know.
I had to wear, because I've always had a hard time embracing my femininity, I had to wear a red dress, close my eyes, and dance around. And they expected you to get emotional and cry, so I had to push myself to fake cry, so it was believable that I was going through a thing. And I had to do this in front of all these other kids and staff.
So they're just trying to indoctrinate you to be what society expects of you?
Yeah, pretty much. There was also this process where we had to take these towels that were wrapped in duct tape, and they have you just get really angry. I think this is day 2 or 3 of this seminar. It's a very long 12-hour day, 3-day thing. They would have us scream and yell and cry and hit the floor with it. So the way you kind of get weirded out by discovery, the room where we have the seminars was right above where we ate our food, above the cafeteria. So whenever that part of discovery, I forget if it was day 2 or 3, but we always knew what day it was happening. And the kids are not allowed to tell you what happens in the seminars. That's another thing. So you have no idea what's going to happen up there.
Oh, wow. So it's torture for the people doing it and it's
the people that haven't
torture.
gone through it yet. Yeah,
like,
you can
Jesus.
literally be punished for telling. So we're in the cafeteria, and on whatever day that happens in Discovery, we would just hear this loud stomping thing happening on the next floor up. And we all would just kind of like, what the fuck is going on up there, you know? And like the higher levels and kids who have been through it already know what it is. So they are just kind of like, whatever, I know what's happening. But all the kids that hadn't been through it were just like, what the fuck is going on up there? And I'm going to have to do whatever the fuck it is.
Be terrified.
Am I getting my ass whipped? Am I getting, like, what's happening? And there's kids screaming and crying. You don't know what's going on up there.
I hear the sounds of beating and screaming and crying.
Yeah, and no one will tell me what it is.
And they absolutely intentionally put it over the lunchroom.
Yeah,
and
1,000,000%.
intentionally had them do it while you were eating. Like,
oh, and while we were eating, so most of the time we weren't allowed to speak, they would put these brainwashing self-help tapes on. Zig Ziglar, fuck that guy and his tapes. So they would put on Zig Ziglar tapes during lunch and breakfast, dinner, whenever. And when those tapes were on, it was silence. You were not allowed to speak. And if you did, you would be written up. So they did a lot of brainwashing things with like audio tapes and stuff. The tape room was a punishment where if you dropped to staff buddy, which is one of the colored shirts, you spend, 8 to 12 hour days in the tape room. They give you a piece of paper with like multiple choice bubbles. And there's certain questions that come up about different books, historical figures on these tapes. And you have to answer the questions. And the more you get right, the more you earn points. And when you earn enough points, you're out of the tape room, you're off staff buddy, as long as it's approved by your therapist. But the tape room in particular, looking back on it, that was psychological torture because you're listening to the same monotone robotic voice on a tape all day long. It's the same male voice. You would just hear it all day long talking about the same books, and that you can't speak to anybody. You can't look. It's this big plain room with these desks, and you're just sitting there. And
I'm fairly certain that these actions are prohibited under the Geneva Convention.
What is the Geneva Convention?
It was a meeting after World War I where all the countries got together and defined war crimes.
Oh, okay.
Things you're just not allowed to do to prisoners of war.
Like waterboarding or whatever.
Like waterboarding.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure most of these tactics would be absolutely illegal, and these people could other than the fact that they're not like prisoners of war and it's a fucking business that people are paying for, this is illegal ass shit.
Yeah.
This is inhumane ass shit. This is like...
That's not even the worst of it.
I know. That's
Wait till
the
you-
thing. That's what I'm fucking saying.
Wait till you hear about the desert
This
process.
is like the... Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
So if you got in real big trouble and keep in mind, sometimes you would be punished for no reason. I dropped levels right before I turned 18 because they wanted me to stay longer to get more money out of my parents. And realistically, everyone there broke little rules. Everybody fucking did. And then if you dropped levels for breaking a bunch of rules, they would have you write up a come clean where you like snitched on your friends and wrote all the rules you could think of that you broke.
Of course they
And then if they got it back, sometimes they'd rip it up and tell you it's not good enough. I know you're still lying, even though you hadn't lied about anything, and gaslit you. So you would get paranoid and admit to things you didn't even do.
Of course, they picked the nastiest, most sexual sounding name for that.
What?
The come clean.
I know, right? I hadn't thought of it until right now.
Fucking gross.
Yeah. Ugh.
I need a bath after this.
Yeah. Or like you weren't allowed to masturbate, but if you were on at least a level 1 where you could be in the bathroom for 15 minutes by yourself to shower and piss and whatever.
You could squeeze one in.
You could, yeah. But they would make you feel so paranoid about what you did that you would admit to it in a come clean. They would like gaslight you into admitting to that.
A literal come clean.
A literal come clean. Getting clean while you come and you're coming clean.
I have to come clean.
Oh man, the jokes just write themselves.
I have to come clean. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but like there's just so much we could touch on this. It's hard for me to fit it all in.
What's a fucking desert situation?
Okay, so a desert process. I never got put on this process, thank God. There was this one girl, she got put on the desert process for 4 months.
I feel I'm going to be horrified about that once I learn what this is.
So when you're on staff buddy, we had these things called status review meetings that were run by this man named Ron Garrett. And Ron Garrett is a fucking piece of shit. And if you're listening to this, Ron Garrett, fuck you. If you're on staff buddy, we have a status review meeting, and that's where Ron Garrett decides whether or not you can get out of your shit if you're in trouble. He'll have a little like thing where one of his favorites that are like on an upper level, he'll have like a nice conversation with them. He would select certain kids that he would let get out in a year and treat really well, just to like gaslight all the other kids into this is why you're still here because you're not acting like this kid. A lot of his favorite kids, I have this theory he was raping them too, because there was a group of girls, they all looked very similar.
I was gonna say that, and then I was like, don't say it.
There is one girl, I won't say her name, that came out on the Survivor page on Facebook and said this man had raped her. I know he was doing it, and my theory is there was a group of girls that almost never got into trouble, Almost all of them looked pretty much the same, blonde hair, blue-eyed, really pretty white girls. They'd always get special privileges, like he'd take them off campus to go get ice cream, and they would hang out at his house with his wife, who, Rita, fuck you too, you're a piece of shit, and I hope you die. Anyways, so the desert process was worse than staff buddy. You have a staff that's watching you eat, sleep, shit, everything, just like on suicide watch. But you are not, no one's allowed to acknowledge you because then they get on the desert process with you. The staff doesn't even acknowledge you unless it's about something on task, which is food, water, bathroom, meds. If it's not an emergency pertaining to those things, you cannot speak to the staff and they cannot acknowledge you if you go off task with them. None of the kids can acknowledge you, and your therapist can't acknowledge you. Ron Garrett doesn't acknowledge you in status review meetings. You could sit there, be screaming at him, and he pretends you're not there. I saw this one girl who was on that process for 4 months, where she was literally being treated like she was invisible and not there. That's the type of shit that breaks you down. Like,
genuinely,
we haven't even touched on the physical abuse.
That is actively one of the most psychologically harmful things you can do to a person.
Yeah. Especially a developing child.
And this is just like, is this place still open?
It shut down a few years on my birthday. My birthday's a magical day.
I'll say.
It got shut down on my birthday a few years after I got out of there. I think maybe 3-4 years after I got out, it shut down completely.
Well, that's good.
It's good, but there's still so many of them open.
There's still so many open.
For everyone that closes, a new one opens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably just rebrand.
Yeah,
they find a new building.
They do. They go under a different name.
The same thing.
And they do the same bullshit. It's going to be harder for them now, though, because people are speaking out about it. But
I hope.
There was also, I remember this one girl. She was a ward of the state. Nobody had custody of her. Her mom, her mother, so her father passed away and left her an inheritance when she was 13 while she was in the facility. She didn't get to go to his funeral, say her goodbyes, nothing. And the inheritance that she got, a group of staff and people that ran that program got this little 13-year-old girl in a room and bullied her into signing over her inheritance. And she was 13. She didn't know. It was like $150K or something. Signed it over.
Oh, my God.
And her stupid mother handed custody of her over to this facility, the government, basically, so they could do whatever they wanted to her. And they bullied her into signing. Her story is the most fucked up one that I know of. I'm still very close with this girl today. She actually works with kids and is a licensed therapist now.
For her.
And I can't believe she turned out as good as she did. She's also a lesbian.
Yeah.
So I fuck with this bitch. But we had a fake psychiatrist, Dr. Seeley, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. We'll get into him later in my personal beef with him, but she had been on Ritalin since she was a child. Sure. And when they took custody of her, when she stopped complying with them.
What is Ritalin again? Is it like,
it's like
is it like an Adderall? But
I don't even know if they make it anymore or like the actual brand. I know they make a version of it.
I haven't heard that word in like years.
Ritalin is an ADHD medication. It's one of the OG ones.
Okay. Must have had complications or something, because I have not heard that word.
Well, when you're on a certain brand of ADHD medication, some of them you don't have as good of a reaction to as others.
Sure, yeah.
So Ritalin was the one that worked for her. She'd been on it since she was like 5 or 6. We had this fake psychiatrist in the facility that when she was like on suicide watch or staff buddy or whatever, took her off of her Ritalin and put her on a different brand of ADHD medications just because, and put her on a cocktail of other things, just to watch her freak out for fun. I remember one day, I remember vividly, I was in the tape room with her and she was losing her shit because she's all on weird drugs and out of it and she's being tortured. She's not in her right mind.
Of course.
I watched her start ripping out chunks of her skin in her wrist. She has these huge welted scars from doing that, but it was like big chunks. She was like just ripping out her skin. And when she would do shit like that, they'd call these big guys up from the boys' side to come and tackle her. And if you watch the documentary, you'll see video footage of them doing this. They would physically hurt these kids when restraining them.
Of course.
Like choke them, slam them against stuff, kick them, all kinds of shit.
It's like wannabe cops.
One time I watched her getting restrained in the line to the medication window. She started freaking out and like kind of crying and having a meltdown. So they sent these 2 really big, and mind you, this girl's like 5'1", 100 pounds. She was tiny. They sent these guys up to come and tackle her, and they broke her wrist in the process. Did not send her to a hospital. Put her in an ACE bandage.
That would have brought too much attention to what they were doing there. Somebody would have asked some questions.
Yeah. How did this kid
been shut down?
And why is this kid losing her fucking mind and on all of these weird drugs? Yeah. Didn't send her to the hospital and put her in an ACE bandage to let it heal. Broke her wrist.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that girl in particular, between her and this other girl, who is, rest in peace, she's passed now. Between her and this other girl, I think they probably had some of the worst physical abuse and psychological abuse things I'd seen while I was there. But yeah, they did just all kinds of fucked up shit like that. Oh, that was another thing, SN. Intervention. We had this thing called intervention. So when you got restrained and they couldn't calm you down in the restraint after beating you, they'd throw you in this tiny, tiny room. Boring beige walls, like tiny cement room, not comfortable. And if you were still physically flipping out, they'd put you in that room and sit on you. 2 staff would sit on you until you calm down for sometimes days. After you calm down, they would make you just sit there.
For
days sometimes.
I don't understand how you get the staff on board with this.
So this is another thing. So they hired a lot of sketchy people. Let me tell you about this. A lot of the staff were meth addicts. A lot of them were on drugs. Not all of them, but there was a good amount of them that I think were abusing meth specifically. So there was this married couple, and there was this woman named Miss Mary, and she was this big, giant lady. And her husband, they got fired at one point because they had this whole operation where when the kids turned 18 and they got an exit plan, Miss Mary and her husband would go to those kids and say, hey, if you leave, we'll set you up with a job where you'll be... They were pimping the kids out when they left at 18. So they were trafficking these children out of the program, and they got fired because it was stepping on the facility making their money. I don't think they did it because they cared that the kids were being trafficked.
Oh, of course not.
But they
were secretly doing that too.
There was one girl when she turned 18 later on Facebook came out and was like, yeah, they offered for me to go out and prostitute myself. And the crazy thing is when I found out, I loved that woman. I thought she was so nice.
Of course she was.
She was so nice. So when I found out, I was like, oh.
So that the kids would trust her.
I'm like, you're a sick fucking piece of shit pimp.
It's a tactic.
You are trafficking. You were in there to traffic children and get your side money. You're a piece of shit. And she was so kind to me. And it made me, that's why I have a lot of trust issues with people. And that's why I pick people apart so quickly, because people are not always what they seem. And a lot of people have bad intentions. So my story, I dropped it. They kept me at a certain level. I was very compliant because I'd gotten kicked out of another place. And I heard other kids talk. If you got sent out of the country, it was significantly worse for you. You were subjected to a lot more blatant abuse, no matter how close your parents were involved. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention. At the Montana place, they would read our mail, which is illegal. And if you said anything bad about it, they wouldn't let you send it. In this place, they would let you send your letters, but if your parents complained that they had said anything, that you'd said anything bad about the program, you were punished for it. We were not allowed to speak to our parents outside of letters, and sometimes you would lose that privilege as well. You would only get 1 phone call a month with a therapist present, so you couldn't just say whatever you wanted. And you didn't see your parents for sometimes years. You had to earn the privilege to see them. So that was a thing that was frustrating for me, was realizing that I think that's a red flag. You send your kid to a place and they're cutting off communication with you and your child. That's a red flag to me. Yeah. And it's frustrating for me that my parents didn't see it that way, you know? My parents had enough money at the time to continuously write them a check to keep me in there, and they knew that. And my parents were very closely involved with the therapy process. I did have, because there were some kids, their parents wouldn't even do a call with them, and I felt sad for those kids. There were a couple of kids, their parents would not even do a phone call every month with them and just wouldn't show up. They'd go to therapy for their phone call, parents just wouldn't not show, and they'd be sad about it. So I was fortunate enough, my parents were on every call, but because my parents had money and they were fully trusting this place, they kept me below a level 3 the whole first year-ish, that maybe year and a half I was there. It was almost a year and a half before I finally got to level 4.
Because it was literally a money game for them.
Yeah, so they would do things to keep you, they would gaslight you and tell you did something bad and you're not working your program. That's why you haven't moved up levels, when really they were just setting it up so you would stay there longer because they knew they could easily get more money. Everyone was treated different based on the money. I got up to level 4 about 2-3 months before I turned 18. And this is a common story I've heard from other kids as well and survivors of this place. So legally, when you turn 18, they cannot hold you if you want to leave. So what they do, since they're controlling your communication with your parents, in my case, my whole group got dropped levels all the way into staff buddy. So you're in a colored shirt, yellow and orange. We get all those typical punishments. a couple months before I turned 18. And I was dead set. I had been counting the days. I had tallies in my journal of how many hours until I turned 18, literally. I used to calculate how many months, days, hours, minutes until I turned 18. Because I was like, I'll leave and maybe my parents will pick me up or like I can go somewhere. Right before I turned 18, I am lied to by Ron Garrett that my parents are going to send me, and I have no other choice but to go. They're going to send me across the country to the East Coast with no money, and I will be dropped off on the street, which in my head, I'm like horrified because I'm like, I would have no food, no money. I would have nowhere to sleep, nowhere to go. I could get murdered. I could get raped. This is terrible. I want to get out of here, but like maybe I should just stay because they can't keep you past 19. At 19, it doesn't matter if you've completed or not. And they were trying to do that to me. They were trying to make me one of the 19-year-old kids. And I believed them because I'm brainwashed at this point. I'm not thinking my own thoughts.
Right.
If you don't comply with them, you're dropped levels. And in order to comply, you say all the bullshit they want to hear. So you kind of become like one of their little robots. All of the higher level kids act almost as junior staff, and you're expected to do that. So if you see someone breaking a rule, in order to protect yourself from dropping levels, you say something. They condition you to comply and do what they say. So I was at that level already. I was a level 4 by the time I dropped. I'd worked so hard to get up there and I'm dropping now. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, hopefully I can get out before I'm 19 if I just work my program and do what they say. Realistically, if my dad hadn't said something in May of 2010, they would have kept me till I was 19. But they lied to me and told me that was my exit plan. And I was too afraid to leave because the opposite is I could get raped and murdered in the streets. Right. I'm one of the only kids not getting raped in here or like beaten. So at least I have food sometimes and like a place to sleep. So I stayed another like 7-8 months after this. And I remember I got to a high level. My dad told me at my graduation that he was like, they were going to keep you another 2 months and said you hadn't worked on enough stuff. But I told them, we've given you enough money. She either needs to graduate or you're getting pulled. And I'm so grateful he did that because even another few months could have been more detrimental. And this is a common tactic I've found they used on other people because I've talked to other kids that turned 18 in there and they lied about what their exit plan was and said, you're going to this random country or this random state with no money. You'll be like raped and like beaten and murdered maybe, you know, like to get you too scared to stay. And they were selective with who they did it with because they knew who it would work on. I found out that that was a lie because me and my parents, maybe a year after I'd gotten home, because we were fighting again, and my mom's mad because it's the same old shit where we're not getting along. I brought up my exit plan in the middle of the fight, and I was like, you know what's really fucked up is you guys were gonna send me all the way to the other side of the country when I was 18. Like, you don't care about me at all. And my mom was like, what do you mean? My dad was like, yeah, what do you fucking mean? I told them about the exit plan, and they were like, that was never the plan. If you had left at 18, we would have let you come home.
Yep.
And that, give me a second, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. No, literally nobody deserves this. Fucking children? Are you kidding me? Like, they're children. Mm-hmm. You were a child.
You know what's fucked up too? They used to tell us things like, your parents are probably relieved that you're gone. They used to tell us that all the time.
Of course.
Your parents are, especially Ron Garrett, fuck that fool.
Yeah. Mental manipulation, gaslighting,
but
tactics.
Yeah, your parents, you were so terrible that your parents couldn't stand you. They're probably at peace now in the home. At least they have some peace and quiet in the home. They would tell us shit like that. One time, Rita Nugent, fuck that bitch, she was giving a speech at a status review meeting or something. I forget what meeting we were having. And she was like, some of you claim that we brainwash you, but think about the thoughts you used to have before you got sent here. Don't you think your brains need a little washing? She straight up said that to us in a meeting one time. And it was over shit like just regular things that a middle school, high school kid thinks about when you're going through puberty and you're hormonal.
Yeah.
And you're emotional and you don't understand life and the meaning of it all.
Stuff.
And who you are, made it seem like that was so bad that we needed to have our brains washed. And they were brainwashing us, but not it wasn't a positive thing.
No.
It was a way to break us down so we were zombies, and they got some sort of sick joy out of it and a lot of fucking money. I don't know exactly how much Cross Creek cost per child a month, but I do know for a fact it was $7,500 a month at the Montana program.
Jesus.
per kid a month. So it had to have been in the $5,000 to $10,000 range a month. Say you round down, $5,000 per kid.
Yeah.
There's 300 kids in the facility. You're good at math. 5,000 per
Times
kid.
300 is 1,500,000.
Yeah, and that's just a rough estimate per month in one facility, mind you. This is one facility out of thousands across the world. This is $1 billion industry that people just don't know about. If I had to guess, I would guess Cross Creek was costing, because of all of the like security and like the locked building and location and everything, it had to have been at least 10 grand. I just know the Montana place. I looked it up and it was 7,500. Just rough estimating low, 5,000 a month, millions of dollars in 1 month. And that's one program out of thousands across the world.
Yeah.
It's a multi-billion-dollar company, and they are fucking up people. I don't know where the original Troubled Teen program started. I would have to guess it was around in the 70s. Yeah. I know, like, for example...
The documentary talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's like probably...
And the way that it basically started through the church, or like church-adjacent people who were like, we need to get these kids right with God, but we don't necessarily have to mention God.
Yeah, I think the height of its popularity, too, was like late 90s, early 2000s. Too, because after I got out, it started to decline because of the internet and people sharing information and people speaking out. They didn't have that in the 90s. So it started to tank, but like there are millions of kids that have experienced this. It's bad enough that there are strangers. I used to be in a survivor page on Facebook. There are thousands of kids just on the survivor page alone. Yeah. And this is just for my program. Right. And there's kids that went there in the 80s, 90s, my era, later than me. And we all like kind of go there for support. There would be kids that would post on there, and they're not even kids anymore. They're older. You know, like there was one girl I remember. She was older than me. I think she was like late 30s at the time. I was like late 20s. She was like some generations before me. She had gone to Cross Creek and she was making posts about, I'm killing myself tonight. And we were all like messaging her and trying to talk her out of it. And she ended up okay, at least for that night. I don't know where she's at now. But yeah, and I've lost so many friends. I may have not been close because of the circumstances with them, but I have friends from there that I'll be in town in a random city in the United States and hit them up, and we'll meet up, and it's like it hasn't been 15 years. I don't really know them. They've lived a whole life outside of that, and I didn't really even get to really know them in there, but because we went through that together, I feel a sense of closeness with them. It's a really strange, unique experience. And I think this industry that is now being spoken on, I think it is a big contributing factor to why millennials, Gen X, we're so fucked up and suicidal and not okay and not doing good mentally.
I mean,
we have the worst mental health, I think, of any other generation.
I think Gen Z's beating us, but...
Gen Z kind of... Okay, so older Gen Z is catching caught the ass end of this starting to tank, and it's still going on. There's Gen Z kids, there's Gen Alpha kids experiencing it now.
I know, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's at least a very significant percentage of...
I do know the program started to get less and less hostile with the rise of the internet. Because I would hear stories from like older generations and I'm like, you guys had it a little bit worse than us. I think they got a lot more like chill about things so they wouldn't get caught. But like it's a big contributing factor to, I think, our generation's mental health in a lot of ways. Because there are so many. I'll meet kids at parties sometimes. Like I call them kids because I think of us all as kids from that time. But I'll meet people at parties and talk about it. And there'll be a random other person that's like, I went to this place or I went to the same place as you or the same wilderness camp. It's actually a lot more common than people think. Even you. What are the odds that your sister went through it? That's how common it is.
Yeah.
I met you at a party, unrelated to any of this, and you have a sibling that went through it.
Yep.
There was one girl in my tiny town, my tiny ass town. We didn't know each other from our hometowns, and we ended up at the same facility. That's why I kind of wanted to do this episode, because for the longest time, when I first got out of there, there were times where I just wanted to get on top of a mountain and scream about what happened to me and just get people to hear me. Like, I felt like I was going crazy.
Did you ever do that?
No. I mean, I screamed at my ex about it for 8 hours one night when we got in a fight and was like, shut up and listen to the problems I have.
Do you want to?
Nah.
No?
I don't think I need it anymore.
Okay. There's like mountains out in Malibu.
I'm screaming into a mic for whoever's listening to this podcast. That's good enough for me. This was more when I was mentally not okay and wasn't 100% understanding what happened to me.
Still might do you some good.
I don't feel like crazy on that level anymore, though.
But you don't have to be crazy to want to scream off of a mountain.
I'll just scream into the mic. I did a lot of crazy shit in my teen and early 20s getting out of there, so I'm fine. This is good enough for me. This is more useful and helpful too. Like, a lot of this is like healing for me, but it's also, I'm spreading awareness. Speaking of which, I have some friends I want to invite on the podcast about this subject in future episodes, but if you are listening and you went to one of these places, shoot us an email.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it.
We'll have that linked in the bio. I have no words. Like, I felt this way watching the documentary. I feel it more now. This is one of the worst things you can have experienced. I'm not going to say the worst thing because I know some
other
shit
things
that can happen, but like,
honestly though,
this is top level. This is top of the pyramid trauma shit.
If I'm being real with myself, this was the worst thing I've ever been through in my life.
How could it not be?
I've never been through something worse. Like, I had my problems before being sent away, but the freedom of it all. I remember the simplest things, like when I got out, being able to like wax my eyebrows the way I wanted, wear makeup, wear normal clothes,
be a fucking person,
talk to people, the freedom. Oh my God. I had a list of food I wanted to eat because I hadn't had a normal meal in years. I was so socially awkward. I would have panic attacks for little things. Like, we had a rule where it was run plans if you spoke to somebody through a doorway, because their logic was the staff can't see what the other person is saying on the other side. No communication through the doorway. If someone's outside of a doorway, you cannot acknowledge them. If you need to talk to them, you have to go into the same room as them so staff can monitor what you're saying. And you would get punished for that. When I got out of there, I remember one of my friends was talking to me through a doorway. And I don't know what the fuck it felt like someone punched me in the, you know, when you get anxiety and it just hits you in the gut? I started like breathing heavy and freaking out. My heart's racing and I'm like, why am I freaking out right now? And like, I really thought about it and I'm like, the little rules. I'm so conditioned that I'm afraid of little interactions like that are totally normal in everyday life. I remember I forgot, we had to have a plastic water bottle with us. If you left it somewhere in another room or something, you were written up for that and punished. You lost points, or like if you lost enough points, you might have dropped a level.
Were you like reusing plastic water bottles?
Yes, for like, I think it was like a month or 2 months at a time. You use this, and the water would taste like shit after a while. I hated drinking water, but they would make you drink a certain amount of water a day, but it was in the same cheap little Kroger, whatever, plastic water bottle.
So bad for you.
But if you left your water bottle in a room, like just being forgetful, forgot it, you would be written up. So I remember one day I had a plastic water bottle with me and I left it somewhere. And
they were pinching every fucking penny just to fucking abuse kids.
Yeah.
I would not actually do this, but they all should be murdered. Everyone involved with this entire, like, I agree. The rage and the just...
Now you understand me a little bit better and why I have such a bad rage problem. But in moments where I feel threatened, specifically by men, but just in general, when I get into a fit of rage and I start screaming at someone and getting violent, I feel like I'm almost not in my own body and not in control of myself. And I think that's a symptom of this experience that I had. Man, this got really vulnerable. I don't know what I'm even doing right now.
I mean, that's part of the point of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Be honest, be open, be vulnerable. This shit happened to you. It's like one of the worst things that can happen to a person, and you dealt with it for years.
Yep. I could talk literally until I'm blue in the face about this and make this a 24-hour long podcast episode.
I believe that.
And I would still feel like I'm not getting the point across. It's one of those things where I feel like I could tell you every detail and people still wouldn't understand.
So like, what's the takeaway? Like what?
This is destroying a generation of people's mental health, and it's going to evil, greedy people for profit. A bunch of sick fucks are making a huge profit off of this. It needs to stop, and people need to be aware of it. The more people that are aware of it and know that it's going on, the less power they have, because now they're aware. If they have kids, they're not sending, they'll do their research.
Like if you are a parent, or if you're thinking of becoming a parent, or if you have friends who are parents, if you hear any whiff of these kids are like they might be about to send their kids to some program to like deal with their bad behavior, like talk them out of it.
Send them to therapy. Even if you have to send them somewhere, it's a red flag if they cut communication off.
Yes.
Don't abandon your children and just...
Don't abandon your children. Like,
I mean, this is going to fall on deaf ears to certain people.
If you're going to have children, if you're going to choose to have children,
you know what?
Be there for them.
Just look for the red flags and be aware of these places. Speak out about it. Tell your friends about it. Educate people about it. It's very important.
If they're like claiming a great success rate, but they don't have testimonials like from people who actually experienced it claiming that it totally is good and worked. Did they have shit like that?
What?
Like, did they have testimonials on their website?
Oh, yeah.
From kids who came out?
Yeah.
Were they real?
Yeah, well, no, but like they brainwashed the children.
Basically scripted shit.
I came out like, I'm working my program.
And if your kid is acting out, like, help them. Like, they're not acting out because they're shitty. They're acting out because they're in pain.
I had one more thing I wanted to bring up, a little off topic. To complete the episode. The majority of these programs in the U.S. or in the state of Utah, the Mormon Church is heavily behind this. They didn't advertise my program as like a Mormon-based place, but it was heavily, all of Ron Garrett and his wife were Mormons. Ron June, my therapist, was a Mormon. A lot of the staff were Mormons. The government looks the other way for pay because they're totally fine with kids being abused. We can do a deep dive on the Mormon Church another time, but I just wanted to like point that out. A lot of these places, there's also a documentary Paris Hilton came out with because she was sent to Provo Canyon, which is North Utah, directly related to my program. It's under WWASP programs. Just look it up, Paris Hilton Troubled Teen Program. It'll pop up. It's a very good documentary. It's huge that she was the first one to really do that, make a big documentary that got people's attention. And I'm so grateful she's talking because she has a huge platform. But Paris Hilton went through the same form of abuse as I did at a different place. So, but they're all over the place. There was Costa Rica, Jamaica,
I don't know how you
Czechoslovakia.
I don't know how you like
Mexico
fight a church like that because they have so much money, like they have so much power.
The more people that are aware of it,
yeah,
and the more people that leave that churk, the better. Anyways, that was a heavy one. Thanks for listening.
Hope you had fun.
Yeah, so we'll make a more lighthearted episode next episode for you guys.
Next week we'll accuse another person of being trans.
Yeah, we'll do something like kind of toxic, you know.
Yeah, we'll just like lean into our better demons.
But we'll be classy about it, you know, very demure, very mindful.
So demure.
Very classy.
So demure. So I guess this has been an episode of Lady and the Trans.
Yeah, I'm Lady.
I'm trans.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll catch you next week.
I feel so awkward ending it because it was so heavy.